this keeps stopping, like, automatically. I'm, like, talking, and it'll just stop. Like, hello. I don't know how to do an intro. So, hi. My name is Mandy. But today I'm going to talk about the time I passed out at a concert. Yeah. So, something you should know about me is that I tend to pass out a lot. I have panic attacks, and it's not that I forget how to breathe, it's just I forget about breathing. I don't think to breathe because I'm freaking out, so my breathing stops for a while, and I won't realize it until I'm getting lightheaded and I'll pass out, or stuff like that happens. Or if I get too hot, I pass out easily. Just random things like that. I pass out a lot. I've passed out so many times. But of course, one of the times had to be at a concert. I go to a lot of concerts, and concerts, if you've been to one, they're usually hot and sweaty and gross. So at most concerts, I'll get a little dizzy most of the time, and I'll have to sit down and I breathe and take a drink of water, and then I'm fine. But the concerts that are worse for me are the non-seated concerts, when you're in a pit, or general admission, where everyone's standing next to each other, there's no seats, that type of concert. Those usually, when I go to those type of concerts that are general admission, I always try to get to the front, and I usually end up getting pretty close to the front. I went to a Falling in Reverse concert, I was at the very front row, but I usually will get dizzy in those situations, but I usually am okay. But this time I was not. I went to a Halsey concert. It was in Dallas. It was 2015, but I went and saw her in Dallas, and this was on her tour with Young Rising Suns, and it was the American Youth Tour. So they had two opening acts, which was it's kind of a mini festival thing, is what I kind of call it. It was they had an opening act, and then Young Rising Suns came on, and they played a whole show, and then Halsey came on, and she played a whole show. So it was they both of their tours, but you know what I mean? Okay. But anyways, so I mainly just went for Halsey, and it was a really small tour. It was it was in a club, and it was really small. There weren't a lot of people. There weren't a lot of people there, but it was a lot of people in that room. You know what I mean? It was a small room, a small ass room. Oh my god. And everyone wanted to get to the stage, so everyone was crammed in, of course. And I was me and my friend Brooklyn were relatively close to the front. We weren't in the very front, but we weren't in the back, and we weren't in the middle. We were more up. We were 7, 8 rows behind, I'm guessing. 5, 6, 7, 8, somewhere in between there. We were that many rows behind. And like I said, I don't deal with heat very well. And when me and Brooklyn waited in line outside for a while to get to the front, and then once we got inside, we had to stand for a while for the concert to start, and everyone came in, and so there were no seats or anything. I didn't want to leave to go get water because I didn't want to lose my spot, and that was dumb. If you feel you need water, you should really go get water, because you could pass out or something. I did. I learned my lesson, but one of the opening acts came on, and he sang, and I was it was hot, but I wasn't dizzy yet. And then Young Rising Suns came on, and they played they probably weren't even on for super long, but it felt forever. It felt hours to me because I was so hot. My legs were hurting so bad from standing for so long, and I just wanted to see Halsey, and I was dying. They played so many songs, so many songs. They played more than Halsey, and I was oh my god, every time I would think it would be close to ending, they would play another song and another song, and I was starting to get really dizzy. And a lot of times I'll get dizzy, and I can I'll close my eyes, and I'll just rest my head on my friend's shoulder or something when I'm at a concert and stuff, and then it'll go away and I'll be fine. And so this time I was like getting really dizzy, like dizzier than usual, so I was just like, I'm dizzy, and I said that to Brooklyn, and I put my rest of my head on her shoulder, and she didn't really think anything of it because like she knows I passed out before, but she knows I like get where like I'm dizzy and then nothing ever happens, so she was just like, oh whatever, shut up. And so then I like came back and I was like fine again, and then all of a sudden I just like blacked out. I remember, like, all that I remember was I remember going like this and falling and blacking out, and then like I went in and out of consciousness. Like I would just see black and not hear anything, and then I would remember like someone carrying me, and then I remember being out on the back deck. And the layout was kind of like the club was in here, the stage was up here, and then like in the back, like there was a bar over here, but like most of the kids that were there were like teenagers and they couldn't really use the bar, but like it was a club, so they had a bar. And then there was like a back deck at the back, and like you go outside and there's like a deck and stuff, and they had like a stage out there and everything too. It was really nice. But my parents were sitting out there because my parents didn't want to go to the show, but it was like my first time going to like a show at a club, so they were just like I'm gonna go with you, because usually they just drop me and my friends off at a concert, but since it was a club and it was like my first time going to a club at a show, they were like, I know it's Halsey and everything and it's gonna be teenage girls, but I still gotta make sure because there could still be like drunk guys and stuff, and they were just worried, so they just sat out on the deck. And they like Halsey too, so they were like, might as well listen to her music and stuff. And what Brooklyn and like people told me that happened was I fell back, and apparently this guy like caught me, and he like these people like caught me, and then they like picked me up and like brought me to the back. And luckily there was a nurse. I think she was a nurse. She was a nurse or a doctor, but she was a parent of someone there too, and she was sitting on a bench that was like in the back, but it wasn't outside. And she was like sitting there, and when she saw me fall, she like came over and she was like helping me. And Brooklyn ran to my parents and was like, Mandy passed out. And so my parents were like, oh no. They were like, I remember I was sitting on the bench in the back. I wasn't out on the deck yet, and they were like splashing water on my face. And then I went out again, and I was on the bench in the back, and I could hear everyone, but I couldn't see anything, and I couldn't like move. I was like paralyzed basically, and they said my eyes were like rolling in the back of my head, which is kind of creepy. But apparently I couldn't, like, I could hear them, and they were like saying my name. They're like, Mandy, Mandy, and I was like trying to say I'm okay because I felt fine, I just couldn't move and stuff. And I was like, I couldn't. And then they were splashing water on me, and I finally came out of it, and I was like, I'm fine, because usually after I pass out, like, it'll be some big deal, and people will be like so frightened, and then I like come out of it, and I'm like, I'm perfectly fine. So I was like, I'm fine. But the club had called the ambulance by then, and since they had called the ambulance, they didn't want me to go back in the crowd since I had just passed out and they didn't know what was wrong. So I had to wait for the ambulance, and at this time I was like, I've waited all night to see Halsey. She better not come on without me seeing her. So then they had to take me to the front of the building outside, and we sat on the like road, not on the road, but like on the side of the road, like on the sidewalk. And we just, that was my phone, sorry. But we just like sat there for a while. We had to wait for the ambulance, and at that time I was like, oh shit, where's my phone? Because at the moment I passed out, I had it in my hand, and I was like, shit, I dropped it in the middle of the crowd. I'm never gonna get it again. And then luckily someone found it and brought it up to the like bar, and this worker had it, and so I got my phone back, so that was good. And then the ambulance came, and I was still like, I just want to see Halsey, and I was like about to cry because I was like, I've waited so long to see her. And yeah, the ambulance were like checking everything, making sure I was okay, and then they told me I could go back in. And so I went back in, and I got to the front of the concert, and I was fine for the rest of the concert. And yeah, that was that. I think it was just, most of the time when I pass out, I don't really get too freaked out, but since I was at a concert with like a crowd of people, like it's kind of scary, because like if you're in a pit, like if you fall and no one sees you or no one cares and no one's nice enough to actually pick you up, like the one guy that was behind me, then and like no one really notices but a couple people and they don't really want to do anything, then you can get like stomped on and like die and stuff, and I did not want that to happen. So I'm like very lucky that people were helping me, and like people like lifted me up and took me to the back deck and like helped me get fresh air. I'm very lucky for that. When your video cuts out again for the millionth time. But yeah, I think that's it. Okay, that was it, and I hope you enjoy my channel. It'll get better, obviously, because this is my first video. I've made a lot of videos and then never uploaded them. This is the first that I will hopefully upload. And so yeah, bye!